My name is Paul V, and V is for Vance, Knittel, K-N-I-T-T-E-L. I had an uncle, Vance, and that's why they gave me that middle name. I'm 83 years old. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and now I live in Merritt Island, Florida. Kelly Field in Texas. So I went there and they taught me how to be a radar mechanic. So that's what I was. And then after I graduated from that school, I was sent to Alaska. And it wasn't just Alaska, the big city. It was Alaska, the small city. And I was not even in the base camp. And there was a lot of permanent Quonset huts where the officers and what have you who were on station there. But I was in what they call Jamesways. A Jamesway is a cloth Quonset hut, and we maintained the radar set. We were doing all the work, and they were getting all the glory. You know, it's one of those deals. I have one story about the. I went to town one afternoon, and I was, of course, all gussied, you know, overcoat and everything because it was cold. And I went because I wanted to see if I could find some beautiful woman. That was the name of the show. On the way home that evening, I lived out about 1 mile past the airport on the Air Force base, and the Air Force runway runs parallel to the little road that goes up to my radar site. I mention that because I was walking home fully covered because it was probably below zero, and I saw a white dog in a path in front of me, the road in front of me, not a, well, white dogs you don't usually see. So I stopped, and all of a sudden there were like 20 or 25 dogs around them. It was a pack of domesticated wild dogs. The dogs were domesticated. Then when the people that were transferring out of Anchorage, out of the airport, they left their pets behind. And they'd get out in the wilds and join up with the packs. Very, very dangerous animals. If they, as a matter of fact, I think they had a bounty on them. They were so bad. I mean, they'd attack anything, cows, moose, people. And that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid it was going to be moose meat that night. Or cow, what do you call it? Dog food. And anyway, I didn't move. I stood there for, I guess I gave them 10 minutes after they had passed on by. And I was about from here to where the pastor was, away from them. And I was terrified that they'd smell me. But they can't smell you if you got all the clothes on. And the weather is cold because you're not perspiring. One of the things I did in order that I guess is truly Alaskan, was I had my own trot line. Trot line for catching rabbits. Now, why I wanted rabbits, I'll explain that to you. We take the rabbit that we catch. Well, we build, first of all, a snare. That's only a wire hoop like this. And you tie that into the wire to a tree or a stump or something. And the rabbits come by, because you're right over there where their walkway is, right over their walk. And they get hung up in that, and they don't have enough sense to back up. Keep on pushing until they finally die. Then they freeze. Well, I go around and harvest those rabbits. You know, I go around maybe 2 or 3 times a week and check the trot line. I had about eight traps out. Well, I had about 4, one day I had out. I was in snowshoes. I had my parka on with the hood. I was a hoodie. And a rifle over my shoulder. Just going to check my trot line. And I had, like I say, 2 or 3 rabbits already on my. So these rabbits that I would trap, I take down to the main base. We were out on what they call an isolated location. So it was possible to have, you know, go out and look for rabbit when you're off because there's nothing else to do. And we had these snare traps. I had a snare trap that I took care of, had 8 traps on it. And I'm walking one day, walking up, I'm going to hit one more trap before I go in for the day. And push the brush aside, and all of a sudden there's a great big wingspan opening in front of me, like that. Here it was an eagle, and he had one of my rabbits in his talons, but he couldn't take off because the thing was caught in his neck and tied to a tree. And he's there trying to take off, and I'm there trying to back up, and I'm on snowshoes. You can't back up in snowshoes. You have to go forward. It was quite a tense moment, and he gave me this business, and I could feel the air from his wings. That's pretty close, and it was quite a fright. But anyway, he took off. He took off with my bird. The wire finally broke, and I was done for the day. But it was an interesting encounter. He was screaming at me, and I was screaming at him. The truth is, I was screaming, ah! Because all he had to do was turn his attention to me, and he'd see if he could pick up my head with his talon. I don't know what would have happened. He probably would have just flown away. But anyway, he did fly away with my bird, my fish. No, we never did. We went bear hunting, but we really didn't know what we were doing. We were looking for black bears, and we had carbines with us. Well, first of all, we were on the idea that a black bear was about as big as your suitcase there. They're not. They're they're big animals. And then we had metallic covered, brass covered ammo. I don't know if you know, but in war, the Geneva Convention demands that the foes have agreed to put brass cover over the lead ammunition. So if you're shot, you don't get lead poisoning. And that's a true story. And they still have brass on them today. But consequently, if you shoot a bear with a brass bullet, it's not going to stop him, unless you hit him in a vital area. It'll stop a man because the man's worried, you know. But so we knew that here we all had carbines with brass bullets. It was not going to stop a black bear. And shooting a black bear is, you know, it doesn't kill him, it just gets him angry. So yes, that's my encounter with black bear. I never had one. Yeah, well, we looked. We went out for a full day's hunt, but there were about 6 of us, so I guess they could hear us coming a mile away. And we were drinking beer on the way and all that stuff. But I think that you got to live each day for itself. You can't, and I'm not talking about splurging, I'm talking about living, and living comfortably. But you got to make the money in order to do that.